Hey, Ta. I like this song that is playing in the background because it speaks to what I want to address you on. Sodame nomuntu wakini uthandale phesheya mangisi Sondala esweni lakini uthandale phesheya mangisi Ayisuka wena musuhlala lapha. You know what? Colonization didn't make your life better. But we're made to believe that by neglecting our own in terms of our traditional practices, our culture, we're made to believe that we're becoming better. That is why today, if I speak my English and I'm on point, I'm considered, the guy is quite educated. I may mix up and fuck up my own language, isiZulu, so bad, I'll be forgiven, so long as my English is on point. You get what I'm saying? Because we're made to believe, if you are moving with the West, then you are much more advanced, you are doing good, you are better. That's what we're made to believe. And most times when we mourn about how colonization damaged our lives, some people who might think are not thinking straight will jump and say, but you have this and have that and that. You have a masuti, you are not wearing ibeshu, so you can't complain about colonization. You are even using a technology that came through colonization. You are using a smartphone. Colonization took much from people than just these resources we have. It didn't just take away our land. It didn't just take away our resources. It took something much bigger than that. It took our own being. It took away our cultural practices, which had sustained us for generations and generations. People back in the days were much healthier than they are now. Ugogo wami noMakhwezi, my late grandmother, had not been to school. But everyone who was sick for whatever condition, uNomakhwezi was the doctor of the house. A qualified, unqualified doctor. You have a flu, she goes around the yard, she'll come back with something, treat your flu. High temperature, maybe you have a wound, you were running and you hit something. uNomakhwezi could treat all of us. But she was not a doctor. That's why I'm referring to her as unqualified, qualified doctor, because she was able to do the job. And it's all about the knowledge I don't have from previous generations. And I feel like this generation, people at my age and younger, are not doing enough to link up with the gang and Dala and try to get that information from them as to how were they living, how were they sustaining themselves. Because we have lost so much, and there is a wealth of knowledge that we are not even aware of, simply because we have just been comfortable in just adopting Western ways of life. There are so many traditional herbs that can treat a lot of illnesses that we are confronted with. But we rely on these pharmacies that are in every corner just to deal with our symptoms. But let's think of the generation Yoshaka. How were they sustaining themselves? How were they living? We know they were in very good health. What were they eating? We know they had a high life expectancy. Amakhehla back then ayefika ko 80, afike ko 85 esangena entsimini asebenza. Not the generation yethu. At 40 you can feel your body is failing you. You're complaining about diabetes, hey, amatambo, this. There is something that you are not doing right in this generation. And I feel answers are in what you have neglected. There's so much that you are missing out on. We're a generation that has so much, but has so little at the same time. You look at our medical profession, there are so many fields, so many specializations there, but people are still very much sick. And you compare that to the previous generations. We didn't have any gynecologist, we didn't have any dietitian, but people were still in better health than today. Why? Indigenous ways of living. They had their own way of living. They had their own foods. They had their own herbs. And that generation has forgotten all about that. So as we commemorate a Heritage Month, it's not enough. It's not enough to just dress up on a particular day with traditional attire and think that we are commemorating a Heritage Month. No, let's not do it that way. Let's use this opportunity. I'm challenging everyone to try and go back as much as possible to the practices of our forefathers, and let's learn their ways of living. Let's learn from them. If you contact your grandfather, engage your grandmother, ask her, man, Petro, how would you treat your headache back then? How would you treat ABC back then? What sort of foods were you using to gain weight, to lose weight? Because that information was there. It was readily available. We've just been programmed to think that anything that we can find that will be useful to us is something we can find on Google. Yet we are surrounded by amakhehle nezelgazi which are carrying a wealth of knowledge. And let me tell you something. Even these traditional medicines and traditional herbs that we look down upon, the very same Western medicine which we seem to worship, sometimes they take these traditional herbs, fix them nicely, put them in a container in form of a pill, and they charge a high price for it. And it's easy when you get it from a pharmacy, but you can't get it from your own garden for free. No, man. We need to change that mentality. Qala la uthando kwakho before uthando kwabamhlophe. Yabo? Ayisuka wena musukudlala lapha. Ungizonda kanjani ngiwumuntu wakini? Uthande le. Uzonda kanjani okwakini? Uthanda le phesheya mangisi. Uzondala ezweni lakini. Uthanda le phesheya mangisi. Ayisuka wena musukanga.